Well, hello, and welcome back. And today we're going to be continuing with some of my favorite progressive records out of my collection, and starting off with Manfred Mann's Earth Band, and this LP is Solar Fire. This is probably one of my favorite records in my whole record collection. It's top 5, top 10 all the way. The musicianship on this record, the virtuoso by Mick Rogers on here on the guitar, and of course, I like that Moog synthesizer kind of stuff. I like Manfred Mann. He can really play that thing, and he really is playing the organ keyboard synthesizer in this record. Yeah, he's really strong. The songwriting is fantastic. Every song on here is great. Not like a lot of those other Manfred Mann records. There's a few good ones here and a few good ones there. Lots of filler. Not this. This is just a standout record, and I love it. And I was fortunate now, and a few years ago, I bought this is a Japanese first edition. This is from 1972. This record was made, and it looks as good as it did the day it was made. It's in perfect condition, as are the record surfaces. The record too is in pristine condition. I don't know if you can see that, how that record looks on there, but wow. That's the nice thing about the Japanese super vinyl. It's very quiet and it's very durable. It doesn't get surface scratches on it from just sliding it in and out of an inner sleeve. It doesn't happen. And as long as you keep them clean, boy, I'm telling you what a fantastic sound. Now, when I was 17, I went and bought this record. I went down to Opus in Winnipeg. I lived in Winnipeg then. I was in high school, 17 years old. I went down, put a dime in the old bus and went on the student permit on the card, and I went all the way downtown on my Saturdays, probably a couple times a month, and I'd go record shopping. And the big store now was Opus. They had a huge jazz section, classical, a lot of imports. So I bought this as a UK import. Brand new, and the reason I bought it is because they weren't playing this music on the radio or anything. I didn't know anything about this. It's a blind buy. That's what you had to do back then. Look at that cover. That's cool. I bought the record, took it home, and been in love with it ever since. But now I've replaced that UK with this Japanese first edition. And this Japanese press here, this original press, it makes that UK first press. I mean, this sounds like a half-speed master compared to that. So much better. So much better. Next up, here's Messing. This is 1973 now. And this is a UK first edition, this one. And it's got the die-cut cover, opens up. Still kind of on that spacey theme. The next year. And that's cool too. That's a cool cover. But now, we're on a Vertigo. We're on a Vertigo label now. And this record is very good. It's got a lot of great songs on it. It's not as strong as Solar Fire, in my opinion, but it's still a very, very good record. Glad to have it and own it in this great condition. Now, the one I had the same record I had bought in '73, like this. But mine, the cover was about the same. It had a little bit of ring wear up here, but the surface, the record surface wasn't as nice, so I went and I got a really pristine one for my collection now. And then I had this record too, but it was just on a domestic press, and I wanted to upgrade. I couldn't find a UK press, but I did find a German pressing. I bought this out of Germany, still in the shrink, and it's got the German price tag up here, and it's got Unverben Present Zimthep or something. I can't pronounce any of that German on there, and still in the shrink. This one, this German press here, this is still on the bronze label, and this is a nice sounding record. not played much. It's been played about as much as it looks like it was being in the shrink. That's another great record. And those are the 3 Manfred Mann records that I have. Now, I've had a lot of those other ones, Roaring Silence and Angel Station and a bunch of ones, but they just don't have the staying power. Like, these records are a lot better, in my opinion. I like that style better, that great musicianship. Now, these didn't get a lot of airplay. Those records didn't. And the other ones did. So go figure. Okay, next up, another great keyboards coming in on more on that progressive theme again. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Now, this record was from 1970, and this has got that song Lucky Man on it. This is their first record, and this is again a Japanese pressing, and this is about the earliest pressing I can get. And the music on here is fantastic. The record sounds phenomenal. I mean, I was looking to buy some records off of eBay, and a guy was selling some records, and he had a couple of other records, and one of them was this title, and it was a new reissue on a 180 gram pressing audio file. It was being advertised as, and it was called Razor and Tile, and it was really cheap. The guy, it was a used record. He was selling it on his with the other stuff. It was a Van Morrison record I wanted to get from him, and I said, well, I'll throw those in too, And when I put it on, I put that Razor and Tile 180 gram record on there, and I listened to it, and I go, wow, this sounds fantastic. I haven't heard this Emerson, Lake and Palmer for a long time. I should have been listening to this. I don't know why. I'm not, you go through all that stuff when you're listening to something that's so good and you haven't listened to it for a long time. And you're going, wow, this is so fantastic. And so I said, well, I got to compare it to my Japanese press now. Maybe it's better than this, and then I can sell that. You can get a lot of money for them Japanese records and make a little money into PayPal. So I put this record on, and when I put that on, the whole room, it just exploded with sound. I mean, this is analog right here. Come to find out, that Razor and Tile, that was a digital record. All the music was just more compressed right into the middle of the record. It didn't have the sound stage or the information about spatial information all the analog records have. That's what we like about analog. All the different things it does, it just doesn't have the music on it. It has the realism as part of the recording. And so, yeah, there was no contest. But this is making a point to illustrate, if you're not comparing that record to something else and you're going out and buying that new digital record and you bring it home, you know what? They sound pretty good. Even that Razor and Tile sounded good. And it was after I compared it, I realized that it sounded awful. But when you're not comparing it to anything, you don't remember what that record sounded like from 20 years ago when you were a kid and you had it and then you sold it at a garage sale because you bought the CD. You don't remember what that record sounds like anymore. And a lot of you younger folks, you've never had the record before. You've only listened to an MP3, so when you go get a reissue, a digital record, and you're playing it, of course it sounds better than an MP3. But be careful. You need to, as we all know, that's why you folks tune into my channel. We like analog records because we know they are better. And this is just a great illustration of that right here with this record. Next up is Tarkus, original master recording. And these were done in about the early 90s. And they were selling these records, and they were selling them out of hi-fi shops. I remember I was at a hi-fi shop in Winnipeg, and they had these records, they were selling them. And then when I went and bought my speakers down in Fort Lauderdale, the guy had them there as well, and I bought both of these at the same time from a hi-fi store in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And now this one, the number of this one is 323, and the number on this one is 174. I'm talking, wow, those are like the lowest numbers I've got of any kind of records that are numbered in my collection. Those are really low. So this is Tarkus, and no, this is 71, and this is probably my favorite Emerson, Lake and Palmer record. And again, I think this is when MoFi was out of California, and they were using the gain system. They got what that gain system really was. They got rid of a bunch of op amps that fed their record lathe, and they went to a Class A amplifier instead. They had 15 op amps they got rid of it and put a Class A amp in there. That's going to improve the performance. These records sound really good. They're really good. I had it was of this record. I had found a Japanese first edition, and I compared it to this one, and this one is better. Yeah. These are really, MoFi was making some good records back here in these days. And then Trilogy, it's from 73, 72 now, 72's Trilogy, another fantastic record. You know, just the virtuoso of Keith Emerson. Carl Palmer is probably one of the best drummers ever, and they could really play. Greg Lake on the guitar, fantastic. Those guys. If you're gonna have a 3-man band, you better all be great, and that's to make it. That's what you have to have. 3 exceptional players. And now we have Brain Salad Surgery. This is now a Japanese first edition. And I've had a couple different versions of this before, I finally got my Japanese first edition on the white Manticore label. Now that's not a promo. You don't see any of those letters on that label indicating a promo. It's just that was a first edition in 73 on the Manticore. It's white. It's a white label. And the number and all that, I checked it out. Finally, I found this, and wow. So much more fidelity on this first press, this first edition, I should say, than the reissue that I had before this, the Japanese reissue. And this record is another fantastic record. So, from 70, 71, 72, 73, that's the 4 records I had, the first 4 years, the first 4 LPs. And those are my favorites. And they're all fantastic records, too, as most of you know. Now we've got a record. This is called Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds musical version. This is a 2 LP set. It's on a gatefold. And this is a good kind of a progressive music on here from 78 now. And I just have this on a Canadian first press. It's on Columbia, of course, as you can see. Good record. Try to get back in here. David Essex, Justin Howard, Chris Thomas. Some good musicians on here. And I haven't listened to it for a while, and I really need to, because I'm kind of forgetting what's on here, but I do know it's a great record. Now, Lord of the Rings. Now we're getting into Bo Hansson. Bo Hansson is one of those really good progressive virtuosos. There he is right there, Bo Hansson. And no, this is a UK first press. And he's got Tolkien on there, Lord of the Rings. He's got a picture of him in there. He got a little J.R. Tolkien. I love Lord of the Rings. I read the book when I was, 18. I think I read the book, the trilogy. And this is from 72. It's on the Mad Hatter. There's an original UK pressing. Really good record. Bo Hansson's got a number of LPs out, and I've had I think 3 or 4 of them. And these are the 2 that I have now that are my 2 favorites of his. Lord of the Rings and the Musician's Hat by Bo Hansson. This is another really good record here. And again, it's on the Mad Hatter label, UK Press. Nice record. Hansson organ, guitars, bass synthesizer, mellotron, drums, electric guitar. We got Kenny Hansson on electric guitar, Rolf Shiver on acoustic guitar, Gunnar Bernstein flute and saxophones, flute, electric piano. You get the idea. Really good progressive type music. Saxophones, flute, guitars, organ. Yeah. That's the kind of music I like. That's a good record. If you haven't heard this one, there's a good progressive record right there for you. Okay, next up, Mike Oldfield. Mike Oldfield has put together a number of LPs. I don't have any of them. I just have this one, and I really haven't even I don't think, listened to many of them. I've got this one, and I really love Tubular Bells. It's a great record. And again, I have it on the first edition Japanese pressing, and I've had a CBS half-speed master of this record, and I've had a classic records reissue of this record, and I think this one is the best one of all three. Now, in all fairness of that classic records reissue, I didn't compare it to this one exactly. I compared it to the other one, and I have a video where I talk about the comparisons, and it's pretty interesting because that CBS half speed, it's kind of like a different mix altogether, and this is just a better recording and a better mix, the original.